Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today, and after years and years of searching, I think I've done it. I believe I have truly found the perfect sequel. Now, it's no secret here on the channel, I am a gigantic Knights of the Old Republic fan. I always preach the first Knights of the Old Republic, and that's because I'm constantly trying to get people to give it a try. I truly do believe it is easily one of the best RPGs of all time, and hands down the best Star Wars game ever made. The Old Republic universe is so different from what Star Wars is to the mainstream, and it's why I love it so dearly. But I don't give enough credit or attention to here on the channel to Knights of the Old Republic 2, its sequel, and I don't say that sarcastically. I know I talk about it almost on a weekly basis here on the channel, either in passing or its own dedicated video, but Knights of the Old Republic 2, in my opinion, is one of the most meaningful follow-ups to a big video game I've ever seen. Now, this is not accounting for many sequels out there that make generational leaps. KOTOR 2 was made in just over a year, and with what Obsidian had, they made the most of it. So today's video, I believe, will truly highlight why Knights of the Old Republic 2 is one of the best sequels made, and hopefully you can give it a try and become interested in it, whether to replay it or to give it a try for the first time. So with that in mind, do know I'm going to get into a little bit of spoiler territory for KOTOR 1 and lightly in KOTOR 2. The first thing I really want to hit on with this game is, of course, the atmosphere. Now, in KOTOR 1, you're on the Endar Spire, it's all that da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's like all exciting music, it's like, yeah, Star Wars, bro. But KOTOR 2, complete opposite end of the spectrum for like the entirety of its game. Instead of buddying up with Karth, Mission, Zalbar, Bastila, so on and so forth, and you see a thriving universe, you're alone in KOTOR 2. You're on your own, buddy. And the Paragus mining facility, I think, is one of the strongest starts to a game I've played. Now, upon repeated playthroughs, does it work as well? No. But as someone who really loves the atmosphere of KOTOR 2, when you touch down on that Harbinger, I remember when I was 10 years old, I rented this game from Blockbuster. I had no idea what I was in for, man. I had no clue what I was in for. Just being on your own for the first 3 hours of the game and seeing how this mystery unfolds at the Paragus mining facility, always I felt established a proper tone for the rest of the game, because you start to see old planets that you had once visited in KOTOR 1, like Dantooine, and you start to see what exactly happened to the Jedi Enclave. What happened to the people that were there? And these places that were once thriving with individuals, now empty. No one is there. And I think that is such a strong part of this game, because it really feels completely opposite from what the first game was. And some will argue reused assets totally makes sense, right? This game was made in just over a year, but the way that they repurposed those assets and how it fits into the story ever so beautifully makes it more meaningful, in my opinion. Now, gameplay wise, KOTOR 2 does really just bring in a lot of new animations that I think look flashier than KOTOR 1, but the combat system is relatively the same. They do bring in a lot of new feats, but the most important part is the powers. You are a Jedi off the rip. One of the bigger flaws of KOTOR 1 is that you have to wait about 5-6 hours on your first ever playthrough. I think it would take that long to start becoming a Jedi and then finally getting your lightsaber. In KOTOR 2, it's really about hunting down your lightsaber, because you are the exile. No spoilers on that, but you lost your lightsaber. You're still a Jedi. You're reconnecting with the Force. That brings me to my next point. KOTOR 2 gamifies a lot of its main narrative points. They're not just storytelling beats, but the game represents them. So as you gain experience and you level up, that is how you are reestablishing your connection to the Force. That's how you're gaining Force powers, feats, and naturally, that's reciprocated in the gameplay where you're kicking a bunch of bad guy butt. Furthermore, are influencing your party members. Now, I think this is easily one of the most important parts of the game, because each character has their own arc that you're going to investigate and see through. And based off choices you're making and how you interact with your party members and which way you try to influence them, it will end up resolving their arc in a different way, giving them different character feats, changing their physical appearance as well, which is kind of creepy. Better yet, because there is a Force connection between you and all your party members, people who join up and they're like scoundrels with blaster pistols can eventually equip a lightsaber. And the way they just gamify all of this, I think the control you have over your party members and the fact that most of this is tucked away and never promoted to you, the amount of character investment that's required there to make that feel meaningful, to make those arcs meaningful, and then to give you gameplay benefits on top of it. I can't emphasize enough how much of a step forward this is, where KOTOR 1 had amazing characters that I think had good arcs that kept you engaged, and you'd see them through in, so to speak, loyalty missions, whereas KOTOR 2 says you not only have these loyalty missions, but you can also influence if these people end up pretty evil or light side. So when you have this lonely atmosphere and you end up doing a dark side playthrough, which I think is the most fun way to play KOTOR 2, it's just mind-bending how good it is. Allow me to highlight a moment for you. There's a point where you're on Nar Shaddaa, okay? This is a city full of scum and villainy, and you'll find someone in the slums who is quite sick, and it highlights the role-playing options that are within this game without any hesitation, giving all the power to the player. So you can obviously help this person out using some of your treat injury skill, maybe give them a med pack, you can give them some credits, but one choice that's there that's beyond evil is one that's always sat with me for about 4 years now since I discovered it for the first time. It's that you can convince this person to kill themselves. Now, that's obviously horrific, but it's more so the idea that they let you become that evil. You can be that true to your dark side character in this little pocket of the world. So there's the small choices like that where in the scheme of things, it's inconsequential outside of earning dark side points. And then you have the larger things like influencing your characters and seeing their arc end up putting them on the wrong side of history. So that overall control you have of the universe and putting the exile at the center of it and gamifying all the mechanics that surround the exile makes it, like I said, one of the very best sequels that I could ever ask for one of my favorite game series. Now, this one's a little funny because I don't really think a lot of people connect KOTOR to loot, but the loot in KOTOR 2 is amazing in a really hilarious way. Like, you'll find ancient gauntlets of a Sith Lord in some random footlocker on Onderon. You're like, why is this here? I'm not going to ask. And what I like more so is that there are so many different models for your armor, for your blasters, for your lightsabers, for your helmets. Everything is so different, and it's nice to experiment with that stuff because unlike KOTOR 1, where a lot of the assets were reused with different names, and they also looked really corny, and I like them, don't get me wrong, because it fits sort of the old days of the Republic vibe that the game's giving off, because you guessed it based off the name, it's set in the old Republic, go figure. But I like how KOTOR 2 just carries that forward and says, like, here's a bunch of awesome loot. Furthermore, customization. When you go to the workbench, you can hit it up and change up your lightsaber, any vibro sword in the game, any bit of armor. You could put mesh plating on, underlays on. You can change your blasters. Whereas KOTOR 1 really let you modify a select few vibro swords, a select few blasters, some particular bits of armor. I like how KOTOR 2 says, let's let them mod pretty much everything, including obviously your lightsaber, and just go absolutely crazy with it. Furthermore, there is the workbench where you can break down components. This was before, crafting was cool to so many games where they give you little bits that you loot around the world or you'd use through breaking down maybe old weapons, old pieces of armor, and you can use those components to make med packs, advanced med packs, more mods for those weapons. And what's great is it's not like games nowadays where they're like, how many different parts and collectibles and currencies can we stuff into our crafting system to make it so meaningless, right? You'd think it'd be meaningful, but it does the exact opposite for me. And so KOTOR 2 was sort of ahead of its time in that regard, where it seems like a whatever feature nowadays, you expect it in games, right? Like, what game doesn't have crafting that's a role-playing game at this point in time? But KOTOR 2, back in 2004, was already doing this. Once again, I just think it highlights that Obsidian clearly took the old assets, brought them back in, letting you go back to planets like Dantooine, Korriban. You'd start to see the old stuff, and that's totally understandable why that might frustrate someone, but I think the way they repurposed them and then focused on the new things that they could do really worked out spectacularly for them. There's also modding. Now, KOTOR 2 on Steam is absolutely, hands down, the best place to play. There was a large set of updates that came out multiple years ago that beefed up the resolution, but more importantly, it gave the game mod support. And the modding community over on KOTOR 2 is vibrant, giving a lot of fixes to the game's glitches, bugs, adding content, fixing how blasters look, how lightsabers work. Now, I never noticed these issues in the base game when I had played it myself personally, but I know the new content is absolutely there and it is vital. The content restoration mod, the biggest one on the front page, is absolutely a must-have. There's so many reskins that make the characters look good. Like, look at Mitra Surik. Look at this character I have built. Tell me that's a 2004 game. The polygons, they look so good. But the amount of new things you can add to your game, you can add cut content like a droid planet, which I'm gonna be honest, it was cut for a reason. It's not very good, but the fact that it's there, the fact that you can experience it. People added Coruscant as a mod. You can go there and you can fight holograms. Like, there's so much more to the game now, and it's absolutely crazy. So it makes this already amazing sequel become bigger and better. And I would love to see the same update come to KOTOR 1. It actually blows my mind that KOTOR 2 has controller support. It goes up to like 4K. It looks great. It's got tons of mods, but the one that originally started it all, that I would argue is more popular, doesn't have any of this, and it barely runs on current PCs, whereas KOTOR 2 runs like a dream. So if you are hopping into KOTOR 2, mod your game. It's not like a New Vegas sort of level of necessity, in my opinion, outside of the restored content mod, but it absolutely improves your experience. It's easier on the eyes. People have retextured entire planets. They've given it up-reses. Like, the game looks really, really good for a 2004 title. Sometimes it's hard to believe. Hopefully in this video, I've encouraged you to give KOTOR 2 a try. It's relatively cheap, sitting at like $10 tops on Steam. You can get it easily on sale for $3 if things are tight. I cannot recommend it enough. I know I come across, and very much I own the identity of a Knights of the Old Republic fanboy. I'm no fool, but I can't tell you guys enough on how incredible I think KOTOR 2 is. It is a game that has an atmosphere unlike any other, and that's because it builds off of how lively the first game was, and these planets that are now devoid of life with this depressing music and these heavy party members with these really difficult character arcs and the control you have over everything. It is a really empowering, emotional journey, and there's plenty of choices you can make along the way. Of course, it's an Obsidian game. I kind of figured that's a given, but guys, please give it a try. If you do, let me know, whether it's in the comments or it's, of course, on Twitter. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys have to say. And with that, it's time for me to sign out. I'm looking forward to seeing your thoughts. Fire away. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. Big thank you to all of the patrons and the members who continue to support the heck out of this content. And I'll talk with you guys soon. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.